Hello, hello. So I wanted to film just a quick video on what feminine testing is and what it is not. So I've received a lot of comments lately talking about how they don't want to test men, or they just want men to do what they want, or comments saying that feminine testing is actually from the unhealed feminine and all of that. So I just wanted to clarify a few things because feminine testing is highly misunderstood. I misunderstood it for a very long time. I definitely used it to excuse some not so healthy behaviors from myself. So definitely taking full responsibility here. And I think that once it's understood, it's not going to be so demonized. You're kind of going to realize when you're actually doing it versus when it is more of that like manipulation, unhealed feminine energy. Okay. So what feminine energy or what feminine testing is not? What feminine testing has kind of been portrayed as is more of this like, oh, you need to intentionally, in a manner of like you're consciously doing it, you're planning it, you are intentionally doing it. That is healthy feminine testing. And it is not. It is absolutely not. If you are doing it, so let me think of some examples. The ways that I've heard that women should test men is like testing kind of like maybe, I don't know, like doing things to see if he'll pay for a date, or texting certain things to see the response to gauge if he's masculine or not. Or, obviously there's so many other things. And once you're actually in the relationship, maybe you are, even some of these TikTok trends are like feminine testing. If you think of like, oh, name a woman and then seeing what he's doing. Obviously these are like silly examples, but this is kind of like planned things that basically determine if you are going to be upset at him or not. That's unhealthy feminine testing. That's not what in the actual spiritual, like deep polarity, masculine, feminine teachings and knowledge. That's not true feminine testing. That's unhealed version. I mean, I guess it could be considered feminine testing, but it's not what I'm talking about. Whenever I've talked about the fact that the feminine energy does test the masculine energy, what this really is, and this can show up in many different ways, which I'll go into, but what this really is the feminine testing for the safety, and I don't mean like foundational level safety, can I trust this person? In a way it is, but testing for the safety and groundedness and presence and depth of a man's masculine energy. So once again, when I say this is not for abusive relationships. This is not for unhealthy people. This is for a situation where there's polarity between a healthy feminine woman and a healthy feminine or masculine man. And what this looks like is that she is testing subconsciously. This is not consciously. This is not intentional. This is not planned. This is not like maliciously done in order to see if he's good enough and da-da-da-da. This is a natural thing that occurs. Like I will realize after the fact, I'm like, oh, that was a test. Like I literally did that to test, and I'll give you an example in a second. But this is something that just naturally occurs, and it's not planned. It's not planned. It's not maliciously planned. It's not like manipulative, right? It's just something that when we as women are in our feminine essence, we're going to do as more of a gauge of our man's or a man's masculine depth and like his presence and his safety. And when I say safety, I really need to put context to this word. When I say safety in this context, I mean the safety of his masculine energy, as in like how connected and grounded is he in it. This is not safety like I'm testing to see if you were going to hurt me. I'm testing to see if you are a safe man to like physically be around. No, we're past that. Like this isn't survival advice. This isn't protective mechanism advice. This is genuinely, whenever you are in a polarized relationship, what will happen. I highly recommend reading The Way of a Superior Man if you want to understand this better from a masculine perspective. I think that really helped me understand it better. By David Deida. Way of Superior Man by David Deida. This will help you so much. Even as a woman, like, it is a masculine book, but it'll help you understand masculine men so much. So, for example, the other week, my husband asked me on a date, and he wanted to take me to Korean barbecue. And I love Korean barbecue, so I was super excited, right? The closest Korean barbecue place to us, well, honestly, the only one that we like, is about 45 minutes away. And so we would have to drive 45 minutes, which is fine, but obviously there are closer options, right? So I was super excited. I was like, yes, of course. And then a day later, I went out shopping, and I was walking around the shops, and I saw this restaurant, and I was like, ooh, like, this looks really good. I even texted him about it, and I said, this place looks really good. It's right here. It's a few minutes from us. We could go there instead of... And first of all, this is me not surrendering, but I noticed it was also me testing, right? So I was like, oh, maybe we could go there instead of Korean barbecue because it's closer, it'd be more convenient, da-da-da-da. And he passed the test that I didn't realize I was doing, but he said something along the lines of, sure, we could go there another time, but I'm taking you to Korean barbecue tomorrow. And that instantly made me feel safe, not like foundational safety level safe, but safe within how connected he was to his purpose and masculine energy. And it also was like an interesting sign of integrity. It's like, oh, he said we're going there, and he's not going to allow me to sway him from that. And that is masculine. That is like, that's the polarity, right? That is so attractive to the feminine. So, actually, I want to mention apart from The Way of the Superior Man in this instance, but let me finish this up before I kind of like flip-flop between these. He passed the test because he stayed integral to his word, and I didn't realize that I was testing him in that moment until he passed it, because then I felt safe, and then I instantly said to him, I was like, oh my God, like, that was a test. That was a test, and I didn't do it consciously. I'm sorry. Like, I don't even know why I said that, right? I have no clue why I said that logically, but I did. And it's not that I wanted to go to the other restaurant more than Korean barbecue. It's just, it was my like subconscious way of gauging if he was going to stick to his word, if he was going to stay in his masculine energy. And so it's just very interesting, right? Like, I'm literally learning myself as this sort of stuff happens. But you see, that's not malicious. I didn't sit there and say, actually, what I'm gonna do to make him react in a masculine way, or to see if he's actually masculine, because I already know that he is, right? But I didn't plan this out to be like, I'm actually gonna ask him if we can go another place and then see if he changes his mind or not. And if he does, then I'm gonna punish him. And if he doesn't, then he has earned the right to go to the date with me. That's what I see happening in a lot of the feminine energy advice and feminine energy space. And I'm like, that's toxic. That is manipulative. Like, that's going to be a red flag to any man who's genuinely in his masculine energy. But I mean, I'm not masculine, so I don't know how it feels from the masculine perspective. I know men have started watching these videos, so like, please tell me below how it feels. Well, I can tell you how my husband has said it feels to actually like pass these subconscious tests, not the toxic ones, but the ones from the true feminine energy that are just like, you know, testing to see if he's going to stay true to his word. And he was like, oh, well, that made me feel really proud of myself that I was actually in my masculine there and I stuck to it, because it kind of shows him how much progress he has made in his own masculine journey, because maybe a year ago he would have let me sway him, and then he would have actually not felt good in that moment. So it's always for the benefit of both people. If any of this is trying to take advantage of anyone, and like, you notice that that's the situation that you are creating for yourself, and like it's okay to admit that you've realized you were doing that, because that's a majority of what's being taught. Just like learn from it, right? I mean, I was definitely doing it. I was definitely testing in a toxic way, like even a year ago, maybe even 6 months ago. So I totally relate. But it should always be for the benefit of both people, and it's very subconscious. Like I said, please read, just read The Way of the Superior Man, and I'll go into part of that real quick that I think can tie this together and make sense. So, I know that book can be triggering to people. I've found that those who have not healed their feminine energy, or at least have an open, or I don't want to say healed their feminine energy, but like those who are very much stuck in a victim mindset. And when I say that, what that means is like polarity is not available to me. I can't attract men who are deeply divinely masculine. You're always going to attract what is the reciprocal of your energy. So if you're not attracting something like that, it's just a mirror to show you what you need to work on, which is your feminine energy, which is fine. But this is not for those people. That book will trigger the fuck out of you if you were in that state. I was in that state 2 years ago, I think, is when I read it the first time. I did not finish the book because it triggered me so hard. I was so mad at it. I was like, this is not real masculine energy. Da, da, da. So if you find yourself reacting to it like that, please keep an open mind. Now I can read it with a very open mind and be like, oh, okay. This makes a lot of sense. I see what he's saying here. It only triggered me because I was not like fully in my feminine then. Still not perfectly fully in it, but I wasn't in the deep level of feminine energy that I have now started to really start to embody, I guess you could say. Definitely not perfectly, but I'm getting there. And what this teaching is I have to look it up. I want to, oh, where's my phone? I don't have it. Okay, I'm just going to butcher it, and hopefully you know what I'm talking about, or hopefully I can explain it well. But the teaching is that women don't mean what they say. I know it doesn't sound right. It sounds very politically incorrect. But think about what I just said in the moment of the date situation. I also want to clarify here. This is not like overarching advice of every single situation that, oh, you should never listen to women, or I can't trust myself in what I say. No. That's why I say that I honestly hesitate to say this on YouTube, because I know it's like free content. A lot of people watch this. If I were to say this in a course, I know that people are at a certain level where they understand what I'm saying and they've watched enough of my content to know I'm not saying like, yeah, men should not listen to women. That's not what I'm saying. In a situation of a healthy, polarized, feminine, masculine relationship, if a woman who is connected to her feminine energy, who prioritizes love, who is always so sensitive to the flow of love in the relationship, which I am, and I know that like feminine women are, when she says something like, leave me alone, and locks herself in a room when her like lover has made her angry, she probably does not want that. She wants to be hugged and feel the flow of love again, basically. Me, in the situation of the date, I said, oh, let's go to this other restaurant because it's more convenient than Korean barbecue. I wasn't saying that because I actually wanted the other restaurant. I was saying it, and I'm just reflecting on my situation, right? I'm not trying to like say this is for every situation. But what I was really doing there, as I noticed afterwards, was I was testing to see his confidence and strength in his choice and his masculine energy and like his integrity to his word. And that's what I wanted, was integrity to his word. I didn't want my suggestion to be honored in that moment. And the issue is that with this is that in a relationship, for this to really work and be deeply embodied and for it to be beneficial, in the relationship, the man being connected to his masculine and in his purpose, and an integral, non-avoidant masculine man is required. This does not work with boys. This does not work with men who are 50-50 men, who are energetically neutral or more feminine or rejecting their masculine energy. And it obviously especially does not work with these fake alpha men, these transactional men, unhealthy, abusive men. No, that is not what we're talking about here. And I'm gonna have to stop clarifying this in every single video. But this content is for the next level. I hate saying that, but like, it's for the next level. It is more advanced, I guess you could say. This is for not just a healthy relationship. This is for a polarized, deeply attracted relationship. So if you desire that, then this advice will make all of the sense in the world to you. If you don't, or if you're not there yet, or if that's just something that you don't prioritize or your nervous system isn't even ready for yet, then this is going to feel triggering. And that's okay. But obviously David Deida explains it a lot better than me, so definitely go read Way of a Superior Man. And I think it's a chapter that is basically like, women don't mean exactly what they say. I don't think it's worded like that, but yeah, that was highly triggering to me years ago, whenever I still had so many trauma responses and so much, what did I call it? I filmed a video the other day with this. Protective mechanisms. When I was operating out of protective mechanisms and just trying to protect myself and not out of this deep surrender into my feminine, especially to the masculine and love, and committed to deepening the polarity in my relationship, then yeah, this was super freaking triggering. And feminine testing was something that I was doing, or feminine testing was something I was doing in a not so healthy way. And it didn't work. It did not work well, right? It only caused me to feel more unsafe. It only caused me to trust my relationship less. It only caused me to really destroy things. Destroy anything healthy. Destroy any healthy form of polarity. And the thing that has always kept me grounded is that my husband is a very healthy masculine man. I mean, obviously he's grown even more into that in the past few months, in the past year. But I can't imagine how destructive that would have been if I would have been with someone who did not have that baseline of masculine that, you know, honestly kept me in check. So ask me any questions about feminine testing. Hopefully I did a good job of explaining it. Just remember, it's not something that is manipulative. It's not something that you should consciously be trying to do to gauge whatever. Like, that's your protective mechanism coming up, and that's you feeling unsafe. This is always like the true feminine unconscious sort of testing that naturally happens, is always just going to be gauging the masculine and seeing in this moment, how deeply is he in his purpose? In this moment, is he avoiding or not present with me? Or is he not feeling strong in his masculine energy? And really, you know, this just came to me right now as like a little download, but the point of this, like the function of it, even though it's unconscious, is to gauge the health of the polarity in the relationship, because that is what the feminine truly desires, and that's kind of her like magical instinct. The masculine's not always checking for this. The masculine's not, like, I'm sure the masculine has a way of testing the feminine as well, which it does. It's like, will she surrender? Will she surrender to my masculine? And that's going to show how much she's connected to her feminine in that moment, right? But the feminine is the energetic, it's like the thermometer, I guess you could say, of the relationship. And she's going to notice, I say she, but like the feminine energy is going to notice in the relationship if something is off, if, you know, the polarity is getting more neutral, if, you know, even the man is, or the masculine is maybe not in his purpose, if he's avoidant. And that's actually a huge benefit, because if you have, as a masculine man, a woman who is so deeply connected to her feminine, and that you trust her feminine energy, right? Like, not that she's overpowering you, but you trust it as a divinely instinctual, intuitive force that is very valuable, which men in their deep masculine energy do, not these like fake alpha men. They don't value that at all. But you have a resource next to you of a woman who can feel that you are straying from your purpose before you even realize it. For example, like my husband will be working on something, and it's kind of like a shiny new object syndrome in business, I think is what it's called. And, you know, he'll start working on a new project and get super excited about it, but that doesn't really mean that he's in his purpose, right? Maybe it's a distraction from his purpose. Even though it's still work, that doesn't mean that it's someone's purpose. So if you have a resource of a highly intuitive feminine woman next to you who realizes that before you do, that saves so much like time and money and effort and avoidance and straying. And, you know, when a masculine man strays from his purpose, probably unconsciously, it can have really detrimental effects on him and his life. And, you know, his confidence, his health, his literal health, and definitely his spiritual health. So to have that polarity, it's not just for attraction. I mean, that's great. We love that. That is, you know, definitely a positive of it. But it has so many other nuances that bring value to the relationship. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. This was supposed to be a quick one, but here we are, 22 minutes now. But yeah, let me know if you have any more questions about feminine testing. I'm learning it myself. I'm realizing the way I'm actually doing it from a healthy feminine energy now, and we laugh at it, honestly. It's quite funny, especially when it's not manipulative or harmful or anything like that. So it's just very interesting. I find the traits of the feminine and the traits of the masculine and how different they are, honestly, quite humorous. I don't know. I like to laugh a lot, and I like to like just kind of joke about everything. So this to me is just really funny, and I love sharing it. Like, it's serious, but it's funny, but it's helpful. I don't know. I find it to be very lighthearted and honestly life-changing at the same time. Very paradoxical, but we love it. So yeah, check links below for anything that I wanted to announce that I'm like forgetting right now. But I love any feedback on this video, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.